I'm Sarah from Green City Growers, and today I'm going to show you how to plant some wildflower seed in your garden to attract pollinators. Some pollinators that we see in the garden a lot are butterflies and bees, and you'll see them flying from flower to flower. They help keep our gardens healthy and help plants produce fruit. So they're really helpful to have in a vegetable garden. So I'll show you our bed right now where we're planning on planting them. I have this open space here, and the first thing I'm going to do to prepare the bed is to remove any weeds and any dead plant material like this, and I'm going to collect that all so that we can compost it for later. So in this garden bed we already have some things growing. We have some herbs, these red leaves, these are actually blueberry bushes. Here's some more herbs. We have thyme, lavender. So those are the plants that we want to keep, but all these little things growing all around are just weeds that have blown into the bed, and we want to remove those. There are multiple reasons why we want to remove weeds from our bed. For one, if they're growing alongside other vegetables and fruit bushes, they're competing for resources, right? So they're in the same soil, they're both taking up water, they're both taking up nutrients, and in some cases, if the weeds get bigger than your vegetables, they're also competing for sunlight. So it's better just to remove them. It gives your veggies and your fruit a better chance at growing, and your flowers that we're planting today. Another reason why we want to remove them today is because we're going to be planting seed. So when those seeds start sprouting, they're a little trickier to identify than when they're larger. So we just want to remove all the weeds so that we know when there are little things sprouting that it's the wildflowers that we want to be there, not weeds. And here we are at the other side of the bed, and I'm just pulling out these weeds. So I'm grabbing them as close to the soil as possible and pulling out. You want to try and remove the roots, which is this part here that grows underground, along with the plant on top of the ground. For some types of plants, if you just pull off the leaves from above ground and leave the root system in there, they might start growing again. If you're wondering what a weed is, it's just a plant that's growing in our garden and we don't want it to be growing there. So it might have blown in with the wind, or maybe it was dropped in the garden from a bird, or it could just be the seeds were already mixed in the soil when you added it to your garden bed. So now that our garden is weed free, we're going to add some wildflower seeds. The mix that we're using is this from Johnny's Seeds, and it's called Bee Feed Mix. If you get a seed packet like this, on the back there's a lot of important or very helpful information. This tells us exactly how we should plant them, how long it will take for them to sprout, and some other things like how much light they need to grow. So the flowers in this mix, which are the same as what's in yours, are alyssum, asters, baby blue eyes, bergamot, coreopsis, echinacea, flax, fleabane daisy, gaillardia, globegilia, hyssop, poppies, tidy tips, and Siberian wallflower. So some of those you may have heard of before. So we're going to be planting these following the seeding instructions on the back of this packet, and I'll talk through them as I do it. So let's start in our bed. So the first thing it says is to prepare a weed-free bed, which we just finished doing, so now we're ready to plant. They recommend broadcast seeding, which is when instead of taking individual seeds and placing them where you want to grow, which you might do with something like beans or peas, anything with like a larger seed, that broadcasting instead of that is just to take kind of a pinch of them and sprinkle them everywhere. So that's what I'm going to do. First I'll show you what the seed looks like. So there it is. It's a mixture of all different seeds. They're all pretty small. So what I'm going to do is just take a pinch of them and sprinkle them throughout the bed. We're just sprinkling them lightly. I'm not dropping a whole bunch in one area because I don't want them to be overcrowded. When you're thinking about how many seeds to use, you can think of how each of these individual seeds is going to grow into a whole flower, right? So we don't need too many because each flower needs its own space. Now it says that we should lightly rake the seeds into the soil. So I'm going to be doing this with my fingers, and I'm just going to kind of turn up the very top layer of soil so that the seeds are just buried. And these seeds should be no deeper than maybe 1/8 of an inch. They don't need to be very deep at all. They just need to be covered. And there we go. So if you're planting this when it was warmer out, like in the spring, it would take about 10 to 20 days before you would see the sprouts come up. But since we're planting them in the fall, the seeds are actually going to stay under the soil all winter long, kind of like they're in hibernation, and then we'll see them sprout in the spring. So that's how you can plant some wildflowers in your garden to attract some pollinators. I hope you have fun and get to enjoy some beautiful flowers next year.